The sound in the ballroom was a roar of money, clinking crystal, arrogant laughter, the rustle of silk until worth more than most people's cars. And then, a gasp that sliced through it all. It came from a circle of sleek, tailored suits and gowns, where a young man in a blue and yellow varsity jacket, his face flushed with cruel amusement, held an empty champagne flute upside down, dripping from its bowl. A torrent of blood, red Cabernet Sauvignon soaked through the delicate rose, gold sequins of the woman standing before him. The wine ran in rivulets down her bare arms, stained the bodice of her gown a ruinous purple, and pooled on the marble floor at her feet. She didn't jump. She didn't scream. She simply closed her eyes for one long, terrible second as his laughter, loud and brash, rang out. Oops, he grinned, not meaning it at all. Wes, you should watch where you're standing. The woman opened her eyes. And in that moment, if you were close enough, you'd have seen it. Not anger, not humiliation, but a calm, absolute frost. This wasn't an accident. It was an execution. And he had just signed his own death warrant. Before we go any deeper into the night, this arrogant rich kid lost his family $500 million. Hit that subscribe button. This channel is built on stories of justice, karma, and the quiet power you never see coming. You won't want to miss what happens next. Her name was Elara Vance. To the glittering crowd at the Metropolitan Grand's annual Horizon Gala, she was a ghost. An entry on a curated guest list, a name without a face, a mystery appended to the venture capital firm, Aethelgard Holdings. She had arrived alone, in a simple rose gold gown that spoke of understated wealth. Her dark hair swept into a loose chignon. She moved through the ballroom like a shadow, observing, a faint, unreadable smile on her lips. The gala was a nexus of power. Old money from Boston, tech bros from Silicon Valley, oil heirs from Texas, all here to see and be seen, to broker deals on balconies and in quiet corners. The centerpiece of the evening, the whispered about triumph, was the impending merger between the steel and manufacturing conglomerate, Kraus Industries, and the green energy titan, Aethelgard. A $550 million deal, a marriage of old industrial might and cutting-edge sustainable technology. It was all anyone could talk about. And then there was Lucas Kraus. 24 years old, with the sculpted carelessness of someone who had never heard the word no. Heir to the Kraus fortune, recently bounced from his third Ivy League school, and currently the star of a social media feed dedicated to supercars, private islands, and mocking anyone he deemed beneath him. He wore his family's varsity jacket, a relic from his brief donor-funded stint as a university rower. As a badge of entitlement, he held court near the massive ice sculpture, surrounded by a sycophantic crew, his voice always a decibel too loud. His mother, Victoria Kraus, the steely CEO of the family empire, watched him from across the room with a mix of indulgence and mild exasperation. She was deep in conversation with Aethelgard's lead negotiator, a sharp-eyed woman named Miranda, finalizing the last symbolic handshake for the morning's signing. Elara had found a moment of quiet by a floor-to-ceiling window looking out at the city lights. She was thinking not of deals, but of the hydroponic lab her company quietly funded in Detroit, the one turning abandoned lots into community food sources. This gala was a necessary evil, a formality. The deal was already done in her mind. The cross-manufacturing pipelines were perfect for scaling Aethelgard's new solar substrate. It was logical, clean. Lucas, emboldened by his fourth glass of bourbon, noticed her. Check out the wallflower, he sneered to his friend. Rose gold. More like rose old. Who brought their librarian? His friends chuckled. He needed a bigger laugh. He needed a spectacle. He swiped a full glass of expensive wine from a passing tray. Let's see if we can add some color to her night. He sauntered over. Elara sensed him coming but didn't turn. Hey, you. Lucas's voice was a slap in the quiet space. She turned slowly, her expression neutral. Yes, you're with the Aethelgard group, right? The tree huggers. I'm affiliated, Elara said, her voice soft, almost hard to hear over the distant music. Affiliated, Lucas mocked her tone. Well, affiliated, my family is about to own a huge chunk of your little Save the Planet project. You should be thanking me. My family's money is what's going to make your hippie dreams actually matter. Elara's eyes held his. The value is mutual, and the dreams are quite concrete. He leaned in, his breath sour with alcohol. You know what I think? I think you people are all talk. Fancy labs, big words. But in the real world, you need real power. You need a cross. He gestured vaguely with the wine glass, the liquid sloshing. You should be circulating. Making friends. Not hiding over here. His eyes glittered with malice. Let me help you make an entrance. He didn't shove her. He didn't yell. With a deliberate, contemptuous flick of his wrist, he appended the glass. The wine arsed through the air, a dark red cascade that struck her chest and soaked downward in an instant. The cold shock of it made her gasp. The sticky wetness saturated the fabric, weighting it down against her skin. A single drop traced a path down her cheek like a tear. The gasps from the nearby crowd were immediate. Lucas's friends exploded in laughter. He smirked, dropping the glass. It shattered on the floor. Whoops. Guess you should watch where you're standing. Victoria Cross turned at the sound. Her face, previously a mask of polished composure, blanched. She saw the drenched woman, the shattered crystal, her son's triumphant sneer. Her mouth fell open in pure, unvarnished horror. This wasn't just bad manners, this was a cataclysm in a rose gold dress. For 10 seconds, there was a bubble of surreal silence around Elara. The wine dripped from her fingertips. She looked down at her ruined gown, then slowly, with a terrifying stillness, back up at Lucas. The laughter died in his throat. Her gaze wasn't fiery, it was arctic. It was the calm of a judge who had just heard all the evidence she needed. Lucas? Victoria hissed, striding over, her heels clicking like gunshots. She grabbed his arm. What have you done? Apologize this instant. She was in the way. Lucas whined, his bravado cracking under his mother's grip. You idiot, Victoria whispered, the words venomous. She turned to Elara, plastering on a smile that didn't reach her panic-stricken eyes. My dear, I am so sorry. My son he's had too much to celebrate. This is unpardonable. Please let me have my assistant take you to the penthouse suite. We'll get you a new dress, the finest we can find. Elara held up a hand. The gesture was small but absolute. Silence fell again. That won't be necessary, Elara said, her voice now clear, carrying a strange, resonant calm. She didn't look at Victoria. She kept her eyes locked on Lucas. The celebration, she said, is over. She turned and walked away. Not in a rush, not in a flustered stumble, but with a regal, deliberate pace. The crowd parted for her, a sea of stunned faces. She didn't head for the exit. She walked straight toward Miranda, the Aethelgard negotiator who had seen everything, her tablet clutched to her chest like a shield. Victoria, desperate, followed. Miranda, please. This is a terrible misunderstanding, a childish prank. Elara reached Miranda and spoke, her words low but firm. Call Jameson. Initiate the Valkyrie protocol. Now. Miranda's eyes widened for a fraction of a second, then hardened into professional resolve. She gave a sharp nod, pulling out her phone and walking swiftly toward a private anteroom. Victoria looked from Miranda's retreating back to Elara. The what? What protocol? Who are you? Elara finally met Victoria's gaze. My name is Elara Vance. I am the majority stakeholder and founding partner of Aethelgard Holdings. She let that hang in the air. The blood drained from Victoria's face completely. The quiet woman, the wallflower, was not an employee. She was the architect. She was Aethelgard, the memorandum of understanding for the 550 million merger. Elara continued, her tone as smooth and cold as the ice sculpture now melting behind them, was contingent upon a good faith partnership. On mutual respect. Your son's display was not a prank, Mrs. Cross. It was a statement of character. And Aethelgard does not partner with poor character. What followed was the most expensive 10 minutes in Cross Industries history. In the private anteroom, Miranda was on an encrypted line with Jameson.